Welcome back to Two Who's Review. I'm Alex,
I'm Fitz.
I'm also here.
and
As
today
I will
also
be
here.
for
4 months.
many weeks.
Yeah. And today we're going to be reviewing The Ark, which is a very early episode from 1966. It's one of the first Doctor's later stories. This one, I don't know what the general consensus is. I especially don't know what you two think. But I'll tell you what I think about this story. I fucking loved it.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I was very surprised. What do you think, Sam? Broad strokes.
Broadly speaking, I liked it. I will say I think it suffered from what a lot of First Doctor stories that I've seen suffer from, in that it probably didn't need to be this many episodes, or at least it didn't need to allocate half of its episodes to like. So there's the jump forward in time at the end of the second episode.
Yeah.
I feel like you didn't need everything that was in those first two episodes to get to that point.
Well,
that was the point that was interesting. Well, more interesting at least.
I can kind of see what you mean. I think for me, I think they're both really, like, part 1 and 2 I enjoyed, and parts 3 and 4 I really enjoyed. I think the issue is that thematically they're a bit disjointed. I don't see a lot of thematic consistency between the first two and the second two.
Like if we were reviewing first half and second half separately, I would probably not feel the same way, but as one story arc, I feel like they're a bit less than the sum of their parts. They are both pretty good and pretty interesting.
I don't know about that. I'm gonna have to really think about this, because I think the thing that really impressed me about this was the time jump, and it was like the whole, oh shit, this isn't something the show does very often. It's one of the things I love about the Eccleston era, is that moment when the oh crap, my actions in the past created this world, and I just left like everything was going to be all right. The whole Doctor leaves behind.
Yes,
and that element is in this, and I was like, "What? This is season 3. They were doing that this early."
It might be there, Cuff, but I don't think it's as intense as it is with that episode in
it definitely is
in Christopher Eccleston's series, because that was the whole season
20 minutes
arc, right?
Of that second to last episode had been the Simon Pegg and Jagrafest stuff, and then they went to the Big Brother Secret Dalek plan stuff for the second half of that episode, and then onto the finale. That'd be a different story.
Well, you say that
is more where I'm coming at it from.
You say that, but literally the 2-part finale of that story is part 1 is Big Brother, part 2 is a Dalek invasion, and there's not a lot of thematic consistency between those two parts. This is a similar situation.
Here's the thing. I would challenge that.
Yeah.
Here's what I'd say about that, Cuff. Tonally, that finale is inconsistent. That's definitely true.
Yes.
But I think it's thematically surprisingly closely linked, because they both have to do with sort of the Daleks coming in and manipulating, Earth affairs, and the Doctor having to reckon seriously with his decisions, because it culminates in him, it's coward or killer, having to decide that. But with this story, yes, obviously, plot-wise, it's consistent, because one thing does lead to another. But we've essentially got two different types of stories here. We've got a horrible disaster incoming story where the Doctor has to quickly help to save a group of people. Yeah, Contagion. And then the second story is Revolution. And I think there's just too much difference thematically to really call the whole thing cohesive. With that said, what we get is still really good. I'll give a slight peek behind the curtains here. I had never seen this episode. I know that sounds weird, but I don't remember watching this on the ABC. I don't remember watching this on any streaming service. The only reason I decided to watch it was because I happened to have the DVD because my mum bought it for me years ago, and I realized, oh fuck, I've never seen this story. What the hell is this about? Now, I knew, curiously, about the first half. I knew about Dodo bringing in the common cold and setting off a pandemic, because I'd read the description on the DVD. I didn't know about the second half, whether because I forgot it or whatever. So for me, it was really interesting that not only did they manage to do two, what are essentially separate types of stories that, again, not thematically cohesive maybe, but to have it all in the same narrative and have it work as strong as it did was pretty impressive. And that doesn't even get to my favorite qualities of this story, which are the values that are expressed in it, which I could barely believe, given it was in the early 60s, right? I mean, we'll get into more detail. Mid-60s, excuse me. And we'll get into detail about this for sure, but I thought the ending of this story was going to go maybe a couple of different ways, but there was one way that I was hoping against hope it was going to go, and it went that way, and I was so happy that it did. So,
I think
yeah.
I think the thing that I think is missing, and the only really thing I can latch on to, at least for now, and be like, this is the thing that is inconsistent, is that I don't think there's a heavy enough the monoids are slaves thing in the first half.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like, it feels I got to the second half and I was like, were they really? It seemed more like they were like just working together and there was a language barrier more than anything. But I think looking back, you pick up on a couple of small things. But I would like it
if you look at the kind of work that the monoids are doing versus the kind of work that the Guardians are doing,
it's all very menial labor,
but
there are
and
I was gonna say I did find it kind of odd watching it because like when you said this is the episode we were going to be watching to pair with Fires of Pompeii for this recording session, I was like, oh, we're not going to watch The Romans as a first Doctor story. And then I was watching this and I was like, oh, alien slaves, huh? An alien slave revolt.
How interesting.
I mean, that's. I wonder if
that's ever going to be explored again
in the near future.
Yeah. Here's okay. Here is where I'm coming from at the moment, and here's why I don't necessarily. Here's why I'm going to go to bat for this story, like aggressively, and why I adore the fact that the first half and the second half are so different. I have never ever had such a moment of oh shit, that is such a good, like, I'm so impressed by that moment in Classic Who ever. Like, from a single moment, like, longer stories, yes, I think Carnival of Monsters is more impressive to me for what it is as a package. But in terms of an individual moment, the end of episode 2, when they're panning up to the statue, and it's a monoid head, I just went,
that's pretty good.
Holy shit! Not only is that an excellent cliffhanger, but in terms of a new way to take the story, fucking genius.
And just a really great visual. Again, you totally understand or get a really good picture of what's happened, but it doesn't have to tell you. And it's just
the first half does such a great job of setting up how important the statue is. So then when you get that switch at the end of episode 2 and it's a monoid head, it just tells you everything you need to know about where this is going.
That great tracking shot that starts from, and you think, oh, it's a statue, and then, oh, whoa, monoid head. That's a little different.
The other thing as well is you're expecting the statue panning and the big reveal to just be, well, this is telling you that they're in the future now, and this is where the cliffhanger is going to be. And then you see the fucking eyeball. It's so goddamn effective.
Yeah. I mean, and also, this story has really good cliffhangers generally.
But like, it like also not having seen this episode before, I never for a second thought that was going to be a human head. The second
didn't
they
think?
start panning up on the statue, I was like, well, I know exactly where this is going. Because I spent the first 2 episodes being like, all right, the freaky looking aliens are clearly subservient. When is the other shoe gonna drop? And they're going to reveal that they have this sinister plan. And credit, I didn't expect it was going to be we're gonna time skip past that and see the result. That's still interesting, definitely.
Yeah.
But I spent the whole first half being like, okay, these guys are clearly gonna turn out to be evil later. So when they start penning up, I'm like, yeah, there it is. So I wasn't caught off guard by it.
I
But
guess we can't
I
all
agree,
be
it's still definitely very effective.
la-di-da.
Oh no, I do see what you mean. I think part of
I
it.
have better media literacy skills than you. It's not not a big deal. Nothing to be ashamed of.
The new Superman is woke!
Jesus Christ!
Yes, it is. It's very explicit in its wokeness.
As is all of Superman.
Yes. Well, not all of it.
Not all of it. Most of it. The good stuff. Yeah.
I think I'll say this right. I think for me, one of the reasons the cliffhanger of episode 2 did shock me a bit was I honestly, because I only knew about the first half and the plague thing, so I honestly was watching this and I'm like, oh my god, is this like one of those 2 episodes sort of a deal? Like I wasn't totally sure there was 4 episodes, but then I realized, oh no, that the whole plague element that was wrapped up pretty quickly. There's probably something more, and it's like, okay, well there is. But because I was so focused on dealing with that, I was shocked when I saw the monoid statue, and it's like, ooh, you know.
I think on a closer analysis, I do agree. Like, the first half doesn't have nearly enough of the monoids being like clearly like mistreated.
Yep. And not as mistreated overtly as the humans would be in the
the
second
also,
2
I didn't
episodes.
really, and the start of episode 3, it pays lip service to the whole, well, the plague is the reason for this, but like, was it really? I don't think it was. Like, it definitely didn't need to be. I didn't feel the plague's influence.
Well,
on, like,
again,
the subservient nature of some of the people. I just felt like, well, that's a decision they made.
That's
like,
part of the.
I wasn't watching that one person lick the boots of the monoids, and I wasn't like, I wasn't thinking that at all.
Like, yeah, and I think maybe that's part of the lack of cohesion. That yes, the plague played a part of it, but of this revolution situation, but we don't see what that was. We've only got the monoids account of it. It could have been any number of reasons as to exactly why. And it's mainly, I think, used to try to tie in thematically with the first 2 episodes. Whether or not it does that brilliantly, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, but I mean, personally, I don't care about either of those 2 things because narratively, I love the time jump just for what it does for the show. I love when Classic Who plays around with time travel in its storytelling. Despite being about time travel, I don't think Classic Who does it so much. Yeah. And this is a really good example of something that I think wouldn't be out of place in the Moffat era, and in fact, it was in the Moffat era. With Maisie Williams' character, there was a big time jump in the middle of the story where there was one episode set in a Viking village, and the next episode was set in the 1800s or something. And I think this episode explores that a bit better because I don't care about Ashilda. I've got really all that comes down.
Feeling.
Yeah, that character notwithstanding, I feel like that in that instance, I feel like both episodes are self-contained enough.
Yeah.
That I don't notice the disparity between the 2 of them narratively and tonally as much as I do here. And like I say, it's just something that like sticks out to me. It doesn't necessarily detract from either part. It just makes putting the 2 of them together a little bit less amazing than you seem to
And
feel
I-
about it.
And I'll tell you,
Sorry, real
yeah, no, go
quick.
ahead. Go. No,
I'm
go.
aiming this specifically. It fits here because, like, I do feel like there is kind of a weird double standard thing happening. You know how I talked shit about
can't wait.
episode 3 of The Deadly Assassin by being like, this is completely like different to the rest of the story. It's totally not the same thing. Why is this here? And you defend it by going, no, I like it. It's wacky and weird.
Mm.
I feel the same about this. So
Oh
there you go.
no, well the thing is, your liking of it because it is sort of more experimental and innovative, which it is. That's perfectly fine. I don't have an issue with that at all. I think it makes sense. I'm just saying, the thematic inconsistency, I think, does need to be taken into account because the other issues that cropped up with the Deadly Assassin, which I hope I acknowledged them at the time, but it's also sort of inconsistent with the pacing and even the narrative structure is a little bit odd. The fact that we spend so much time in the dream world and things like that. But yeah, certainly your praising of this story for being innovative, I don't have a problem with that at all. I think it makes a lot of sense. Incidentally, I thought to myself, I swear to God, there's another episode where something like this happens, where there's a big jump in time. Yeah. But I think I was confusing it with the Peladon stories, because there's a similar thing where the Doctor becomes this slightly mythologized character in the Curse of Peladon, but then shows up in the Monster of Peladon. It's like, oh, the great person, the great oracle thing, he's back. Ooh, what's happening here? But those are two separate stories. So I don't think anything like this has quite happened.
No.
I mean, we'd have to watch more of the classic series to be certain, but at the very least, it's pretty unique.
I just like this is a
certainly not common.
I like this is a really interesting showcase of how fickle media critique and analysis can be. Where it's like the two of us, Fitz, can acknowledge the same problems in two separate episodes and both come to different conclusions about either. It's like, well, what's the point? Why does anyone score anything when it doesn't really matter? Your 9 is not the same thing as my 9. Your 7 is not the same thing as my 7. This is all a fruitless endeavor. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Let's get into it. We land on this spaceship 10 million years in the future. It's not clear it's a spaceship.
No, it looks like Earth.
We watch animal cage fighting for a couple seconds right at the beginning there.
We do. The animals incidentally.
There's clearly someone at the BBC has just thrown this hornbill at this monitor lizard and just been like, "Fucking go at it."
Well, the funny thing is,
the animals incidentally have not shown any outward signs of evolution over the last 10 million years, which kind of you can't really get around that. But I think it's just still funny.
I mean, like that the same should be true of the humans.
Yes, I'm not saying that that's also a fact, but like I think I noticed it more with the animals because I'm used to seeing humans be in Doctor Who from like the time of their evolution till the end of the universe. I'm more conditioned to accept that than I am to accept elephants are still around.
Maybe they preserved these old animals in the data banks and they've just said, oh, these are cool animals from this period, let's bring them with us.
Well, they don't know anything about previous periods, though. That's the whole reason that the virus is able to take hold so much.
Previous sections.
Well, yeah.
Well, also, something that did surprise...
They've got two-headed zebras, though. That's neat.
That's true. Something that surprised me about this story is, with the animals, I was convinced, especially with the elephant, that they're just using some stock footage, because that's what it looks like. But no, there's literally a scene when the main characters walk up and touch the trunk of an elephant. So
that elephant, incidentally, that elephant. I'm reading from the TARDIS fandom here. Monica the elephant was forced to spend the night before filming in her van outside Michael Emerson's home after the van's driver was refused permission to park at Ealing. Someone rocked up with an elephant, and the BBC guard was like, "You can't park here, mate. Take that elephant somewhere else."
This is a no elephant zone.
Stampy's not
No,
allowed
that's
here.
the white
Sorry.
zone. Go park in the white zone. That's for elephants. Yeah, so
Right.
it's an interesting location in general that we find ourselves at the start. Like
Yeah.
this arc. Not
Yeah,
the
it's like
arc in
it's
space. Crucially, not the arc in
yeah,
space.
no, not the arc in
That's a different
space.
story.
Although similar idea, actually.
Similar, and also
Yeah.
similar to the Silurian arc that we will later see in Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. Very similar things. I love that throughout the history of Earth in this world, a lot of people prior to cataclysmic events are like, put everything on a spaceship and fuck off.
Well, the interesting thing is
Get them all on a boat and wait it out.
and it's not it doesn't feel unsatisfying even if it gets resolved quite quickly. But they show up and they do think it's Earth because it looks like Earth, but then they realize it's a very anachronistic Earth because there's all these different species from all across the world. But that part of the mystery, they don't linger on it too long, so that it just feels satisfying, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. But yeah, we eventually learn it's 10 million years in the future. The sun is expanding, I think they said, except it's not happening yet. They said something about the sun. We know
The
that
sun's about to explode and blow up. If you look out the window, there's that spaceship where Nine and Rose are watching it happen. Just over
that's
there.
Actually, no, that's billions of years in the future. That's a different thing.
Well, these are time segments, not years, Cuff. Who knows how many billion
The Doctor does.
units of
The Doctor does.
burgers per football stadium we're dealing with.
No, they clarified later by being like destroyed, but not because of the sun. It's like a solar flare kind of thing. And then later the Earth Restoration Committee came back in and fixed it up. Something like that. That's the in-universe explanation for how the Earth was destroyed twice. And in fact, thinking about it, in the second Matt Smith episode, The Beast Below, that's set in like 2500, and it describes a mass evacuation of the Earth due to incoming cosmic radiation from the sun. Like, this is a very common event, as it turns out, or more common than you would expect, at least. But yeah, we've got these surviving people, the Guardians, as they're known, and the Monoids, who I forget the explanation for why they just sort of like arrived.
They just sort of showed up one day and were like, we don't talk. We have eyeballs in our mouths, so we can't talk.
Which were ping pong balls that the actors had to hold in their mouths.
So,
except that there's that one of the masks which I think was shared between a couple of the actors. But it looks pretty good. Given the rest of the costumes a little bit so, but whatever.
Yeah. And I was really expecting the arrival of the Monoids to be the Switch. That's why I don't think I was expecting the statue. I was sort of expecting the Monoids invaded, but they did it secretly, and they were biding their time until the right moment to strike when the humans were at their weakest. But no, I think it was literally just the Monoids, they might be refugees as well. We didn't really figure out why, because we can use them as slaves, but we're not really going to say that, and it's not really going to be evident until later on. Again, it's a bit. I wish they'd made that a bit clearer in the first half, because it really.
But maybe that's the
half.
thing, Cuff. The audience fell for the propaganda.
I mean, if that was
you didn't even stop to consider if they were slaves.
Take that, audience.
Superman is woke. No,
it's not. It's not intentional, but
no, clearly not.
No.
But that wasn't the shoe that dropped. We get introduced to some of the figureheads of the society. We learn a bit about how they work. There's a system of punishment, but it's also like a colonization thing where it's like, we're going to miniaturize you to a subatomic level and keep you in stasis until we arrive on the Refusus 2 in 700 years, and then we're going to colonize that planet. I think that in and of itself is pretty interesting. Like, I think it's something that will be explored later in the show, and I think we have watched it as well. This concept of like an evacuation ship, like keeping people in stasis, not necessarily by miniaturization. That was an interesting touch. And we get introduced to like the chairman, all these people, and as soon as I see this one guy with his stoic ass face and his permanent scowl, I say to myself, you're going to be the guy who's unnecessarily antagonistic towards the TARDIS crew for
you're
literally
going
no
to
reason.
be a problem, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're going to have zero reasons to mistrust these people, and you're going to follow through on them despite all the evidence to the contrary. And lo and behold, that is what happens. And
Well,
I don't care.
To be fair,
I don't care that it's only 1966.
Yeah,
I'm sick of seeing this character. I don't like when they rock up. I'm over it.
Bringing... Maybe it's because we just lived with, well, still technically living through a pandemic. I'd be a bit scared and a little bit pissed off too if someone brought some random contagion that started killing, my people.
And if this was a friendly character who turned on the characters when it was clear they were the ones that brought a virus on the ship, I'd probably be a bit more lenient on this guy. But because he's a walking trope of a Doctor Who side character,
because isn't he?
I don't care
he's a
about
prosecutor, isn't he? He's a prosecutor, isn't he? He's the guy who shows up at the trial. I think he is. He's part of the prosecution team, which is that itself. Yeah, that's a little bit of it's a bit ham-fisted. It's like, oh, he's gonna prosecute the main characters. This guy's gonna be trouble. So yeah, I mean, I think your criticism's fair.
Like I said, this might have been the first appearance of this kind of character in the show. I don't think it was.
I would doubt it. There would have to be other. I'm sure, like in the Keys to Marinus, they get put on trial, and they. Yeah.
I'm just sick of it. Like, there's no reason for this character to automatically assume that these are native refugians who have somehow snuck aboard the ship. Like, I don't get it.
Sure, drawing that specific conclusion is kind of like out of nowhere, but
yeah.
I don't blame him for being like, these random people just showed up in a fucking box, and they've infected us with a deadly disease. That merits an eyebrow raise, at least.
Yeah, I know, but again, the eyebrow raise should have come after the disease takes hold.
That being said, that's like thematically that's kind of part of it, right? Because the Doctor later says that your ancestors were intolerant and suspicious, that
is the part that saves it. I do.
Yeah, which is good.
And that's why I think a lot of this is more thematically consistent than you're giving it credit for. Like they tie in the rash behavior of and xenophobic behavior of the Guardians to a lot of the oppressive behavior of the monoids later on down the line, and they draw a parallel. And it's a nice touch where they're like they don't do the thing I thought they were going to do, where they were like, the humans are good, the monoids are evil, and we'll leave it at that. They don't do that. They go a bit more intelligent with it, where they're like, well, actually, some of the humans were bad. I would have liked them. I would have liked to have seen at least one monoid be like, well, maybe we shouldn't be doing this to the people. Maybe what we're doing is a bit out of order, just to make that parallel a bit clearer, because we don't see a good monoid.
No, but there is still there's still, I think, enough variety, I guess, within the monoid characters to make it interesting. Because one of the things you've criticized Doctor Who for, rightly, in the past, Cuff, is whenever they have an alien species, it tends to be they're one-minded, right? But here we don't have that. Just ironically, despite their name, they're not a mono-thought species, right? You've got there's factions and rivalries. And Monoid 1 is clearly more of a megalomaniac than the others, and Monoid 4 realizes you're a fool who's going to lead our species to destruction. Fuck you, we're going to go off and do our own thing. So there's that itself makes it interesting.
To be fair, I was expecting that from mistrusting human Dick in part 1. I was expecting there to be the moment where it's like, oh, I'm making a play for power over this civilization. And
Yeah,
as a result,
I was too.
I'm going to sabotage the Doctor's experiments, and like I'm going to purposefully kill
Yeah.
this sick man so I can get the Doctor convicted.
Yeah, there's that one moment where the leader says, you know, if this is my ruling, fuck your courts, sir. And then there's that one line where he's like, oh well, we won't be alive to witness it if he's wrong or something like that. And that's one of those classic, you know, villain twist betrayal moments where it's like, oh, I know, I'll scheme against this person, and what if he just happens to die of this disease? What if I happen to slip him something in his drink later tonight, and no one will know the difference? But
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so in a way, like, I see what you mean about him being a more shallow character, because he is, let's be honest. But I'm glad it still turned out the way it did.
But, like, he does have that moment at the end where he's just like, no, I'll own up to that. I was wrong. I fucked up.
I guess so. And to be fair, the whole twist villain thing, that's a bit cliche, especially in Doctor Who. We've seen it over and over.
I actually don't know how I feel, because like if there was that layer of I'm making a play for the chairman position, I feel like that would have justified a lot of his actions, like of being like so like antagonistic at the start before the virus takes hold. Let me be clear.
Yeah.
And like the whole like fear mongering thing on trial where they're just like, it's clear that you're refusions. Well, it's fucking not. And like the whole mob mentality thing where he's clearly like trying to like play
he's riling them up. Yeah,
he's riling them up. He's playing up the xenophobic angle to get what he wants. If that was all in service of becoming the head of this society, I would have been like, okay, you had a plan and that's why you're doing this. But because it was just like an intolerance thing, I find, well, did you need this? Do you need this angle of fusions and you're spying on us? You could have just had it be, oh, you've brought a sickness on board the ship, and that's as far as my hatred towards you goes. Yeah. You don't need any of the other layers.
Or even, you know what you could have done? Like, surely they would all, the TARDIS crew would all need to be quarantined anyway, so they'd have to be put in some sort of a isolated prison area, so you could have done that angle as well.
It's purely because like he doesn't do any scheming in the second half.
Again, that being said, though,
you could just have it be, I'm sorry, Doctor and friends, like because of your like actions so far, it's clear that you didn't intend this, but you are carrying pathogens, so we will have to isolate you, and if this gets worse, we're gonna destroy the virus by ejecting you. Like that's
that being said,
solved. You get the plot exactly where you need to go without putting this fucking trope of a character that I hate.
Right. That being said, and this sort of goes to your point, thematically it would be less complex if they did that, because now the way it is, we've really firmly established the xenophobia trope. I mean, Steven even says that, you know, after millions of years, humankind hasn't changed. You're still suspicious and hateful of things you don't understand, and that gets expanded on later. And
it does.
Those themes being the way they are in the first two episodes, it makes it even better when the monoids start turning on each other, because we haven't seen that attitude from the humans yet. But with the monoids, we expect it to be we expect them to be monolithic. So the fact that it gets done like this, I think, is more effective.
I guess I just don't like that kind of character in this.
Yeah, show. Oh no, I don't blame you. You're right. It's annoying. It's cliched. It doesn't. It's quite frustrating. There are worse examples, but there are. Not.
But that being said, there are also very few examples of that character showing up where I'm like, this made the story better in a way that like this kind of character doesn't normally advance the story. Is what I mean. Like,
yeah, sure.
I don't know. Well, we do get this the pathogen subplot, which is the focus of the first two episodes. It's something that you would think in a world of pure logic, this kind of thing would happen way more often in the world of Doctor Who than it does here. But like, I can understand that they don't do that every time they land somewhere new. That would get very old very quick. It makes sense to be like, okay, you're clearly sick. This is a good chance for the pathogen to take hold. I can also explain it in universe of being like the TARDIS can can mitigate something like that, where it's like, you know, it doesn't do the thing of like you've just set foot on an alien planet and you've killed them all because they're not used to your bacteria. The TARDIS could probably do some work in neutralizing that, but if you're like actively sick, maybe it's a bit of a tougher job.
I mean,
Maybe.
I just kind of think of it as like like despite being William Hartnell, this version of the Doctor and by extension the TARDIS are still relatively young. So they're just
I
not
don't have a
thinking
problem
about
with it here,
shit like that.
To be clear, I don't have a problem with it in this story. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to like
Yeah.
make it justified
yeah.
within the whole world of the show.
I mean, I
mean-
think the justification is just that like this is early enough into the Doctor going out into
Yeah.
the universe doing shit that he's not considering stuff like that. Like he
Yeah.
even says in the episodes, it's like, oh, it's my fault. I should have known that something like this
Yeah.
could have happened and
Well-
done something about it before it did.
Also, I want to point something out here that I also really liked, and this goes back to something you've pointed out before, Sam. A lot of people in the modern day, especially, think of William Hartnell as this mean, crotchety old man who's set in his ways and who doesn't understand how, especially younger people think and whatever.
And
And to an extent, there is, but I don't think it's as deep as it could be, or as deep as people think it is, because there's also a lot of moments where William Hartnell's character, Doctor, is being very kind, very compassionate, very understanding, especially when Dodo gets really upset when she realizes what's happened. He's very comforting with her, and the fact that he takes responsibility for what happens. He's not just a old man who blames all the young people for screwing everything up. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely moments of, especially some misogyny and sexism going on there. It's like, oh, who's this? Where's that other woman I need? It's, oh, stop.
Yeah.
It's talking, child. Just go do what I tell you. Things like that.
Teach
It's
you
like,
English.
use your eyes. What if I can't find them? Then you're not very fucking useful.
You're
to me,
useful
are
to
you?
me, are you, my dear? Yeah, little things like that. But the fact that he does have that compassion and that he is willing to admit his mistakes, I think, does kind of put a lie to the idea that he's just this belligerent, bull-headed, grumpy old man.
He's
it
a
gives
fucking
him
gremlin man
depth.
half the time.
He is. I think. What did he say, Sam? When he's in the
He's a
Romans,
little
he's
gremlin
running
man.
around. He's running around beating up slave masters, just going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's also part of it
I'm-
here. But I think
I'm a little bit annoyed that we've been doing this podcast for 4 years and we've yet to watch one of those William Hartnell stories yet.
I mean, we could have
early
paired
ones.
this with the Romans.
you mean I could have paired it with the Romans, yes, but I. The
That's
inner
not fine.
machinations.
We'll take the ancient Rome and the alien slavery, and then next recording we'll do the alien slavery and the ancient Rome.
The
we
inner
rarely
machinations of my mind are an enigma.
We rarely pair these up thematically anyway. It's normally just whatever fits.
And when we do, it's coincidence. We did it with what did we do it with? We did it with I think it was with the Satan Pit and the Impossible Planet, and then we did the Daemons, and then we also did Father's Day with the Time Meddler.
I was looking at
That was it.
I was just looking at the channel.
coincidence.
I don't think that's the order.
No, Impossible Planet and Satan Pit was paired with the Three Doctors.
Was it?
Yeah, Damon's was paired with Shakespeare Code.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, there was another reason. There was something that connected the show. I just can't remember. Something about witchcraft. I think is what I think connected.
Witchcraft was the
thing. But yes, the Time Meddler and Father's Day we definitely did, and that was a pure coinky dink. So that was kind of funny. That being said, I mean we should check out the Romans at some point. Anyway, my overall point is with the First Doctor here, small bits of chauvinistic sexism aside, I generally like the way he's characterized here, especially.
Me too.
Okay, maybe I shouldn't get. Should I get into detail with the ending, or do we? We've probably got other stuff to discuss at this point. But
no, I don't think it really matters. Like, if you want to,
I think we've covered the first half pretty well, at least.
True.
Yeah, it's relevant to the first Doctor's character.
I'll do everything in sequence.
No.
True. Well, I'll say this then because I'm talking about the First Doctor.
Yeah.
The other thing I really like about this story, and this is what I talked about before with it going in the way that I hoped it would but didn't expect, was when the Doctor actively called out the Guardians, saying, "You treated these people like slaves. How about we don't do that anymore?" And I thought, given that this is the mid-60s, God, that could have been so much worse. Like, I think, because think about it, having these sorts of characters, this species of aliens, it could have been such a dumb cliche thing. It was like, oh, I think you pointed out, Tuff, humans good and monoids bad, and that's what you get for overthrowing us, you dumb alien people. But no, there's actual nuance and humanity here. It reminds me a little bit of the ending of the Invasion of the Dinosaurs, where the Doctor expresses empathy for the crazy eco-fascist cult and their aims, despite their despicable methods. So, like, that's really good, and it's a good, I think, quite a leftist message. On that note, and I don't give a damn that I have to keep bringing this up, this story came out in the mid-60s. Can either of you please explain to me why it seems to be doing a better job at depicting an oppressed minority than anything in the Interstellar Song Contest? Can any of you help me out there?
Because none of the minorities in this are direct parallels to extremely important allies of American governments.
That'll be
That's
it.
true.
Yeah,
Yep,
this
that'd
is
be
more
it.
of like a blanket statement, and it's not like it's
Yeah.
not an implicit.
It doesn't have.
This is just a sort of vague slavery bad.
Yeah.
No one in this
doesn't-
story can be directly correlated to a Zionist ethnostate.
It doesn't have that metatextual element. Also,
Yeah, they didn't
kind
do a
of
thing
useful.
where they didn't do a thing where they actively tied it to a incredibly current real world political event and then failed to think through the rest of what that implies.
That being said, it's also useful that we don't see the Doctor beating the shit out of a monoid, for example. that's useful, I think.
I mean, we do see one get blown to smithereens.
Yeah, but it's not the Doctor doing it. It's not the Doctor.
By a supposedly peaceful people.
Yeah, but again, it's not that extra layer. It's not that extra layer of the Doctor doing it. It's not the Doctor beating the shit out of somebody, but basically electrically shocking them, and then saying, you did this, monoids. You made me so angry. Look what you made me do. You know.
I find it interesting that the refusions are like, we only ask that if you come here, you do so in peace. By the way,
let's blow up
when this Mornite ship first lands, I'm going to, unprompted, without knowing anything about who, set their escape pod to self-destruct.
Yeah, that's a bit. That seems a bit, war crime adjacent.
Not quite, right?
I mean, if he turned out to be cool, he could have just used his magic energy being Q powers to turn it off. And he wasn't cool, so he didn't.
Might as well address the refusions now. Are they invisible or are they ethereal? Sorry?
What did you say? Got Qs in this episode.
Are we talking as in from James Bond Qs, or is that a Star Trek thing?
It's a Star Trek thing.
Okay.
Do we know if the refusions are invisible or ethereal? Because
I think they well, kind of both.
Kind of both,
they say
right?
that
because they're powerful
they
enough.
They are invisible as a byproduct of being ethereal.
Yeah, of being almost omnipotent, but that's because they don't have a form anymore.
When it got to the point where one refusion was lifting that colossal statue, I was like, so are they made of energy? But no, they can't be, because we saw the impression on the seat when that one sat down in the pod. So they've clearly got a body. It's not really they don't go into too much detail. We can extrapolate from what the episode gives us. It doesn't really need to. Like, this is the specifics of what we are and who we become.
And one of the
powerful.
The refusion that they made.
I made a Q joke, but they're probably more like the ancients from Star Trek.
I assume those are invisible beings that sort of
take your word for it.
Yeah. But one of them does explain
this ascended to a plane of existence where they just exist as energy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of them even says that they can't even the Refusions can't even see each other. They can sense each other, but they can't even actually see each other. So,
Well, I mean, if they're pure
It's-
energy, they don't have eyes.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, that's part
So,
of it
like,
too.
yeah, they just exist in a state where
Yeah.
senses are a completely different can of worms.
Yeah.
And it's in this second half of the story, we get like we've already explored to some degree the fact that the Monoids have a kind of a civil war halfway through. But there's also kind of a similar thing, like it's not as overt, but it is happening with the surviving humans as well, where some are actively seeking a rebellion, but some are like, no, just it's fine, just it's safer.
Continue
just
to be
remain under their
bootlickers,
thumb.
people. What are you doing?
It's safer to just stay under their thumb, and they'll take care of us. It's fine. We'll just be pets.
Yep.
So there is kind of a similar thing happening there, where both factions are split into factions in and of themselves.
Yeah.
Which is quite good. Gives them a fair bit of depth.
Granted,
like I said,
it's really only that one guy that we see from the Guardians that is actively bootlicking.
But they make it clear that it's like a thing, like there's a culture around that. So I think it's enough.
It's enough, yeah.
It's probably just due to the fact that the BBC maybe couldn't have afforded like a massive cast, but there you are. Still works.
Also they could afford, but they had to separate the cast into two halves and put one half in the first half of this episode and the other half in the other half. So
and the rest are put in data banks. And genetic banks, costumes. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And Monoid costumes.
When we also learn about the Monoids' intentions, where it's like, oh, we're gonna destroy the ship so as to get rid of any trace of humans. We're sick of
the Monoids, or at least one has terminal talk about my plans out loud within earshot of who knows what.
Well, no, I kind of get it. They've got these fancy new we're able to talk now devices. You might as well get your.
Surely they must have had a way to communicate with each other before that, at least.
Well, yeah, they use some form of sign language.
Just evolve without ever having any way to communicate.
Well, I actually think that's another like loose thematic connection where it's like the humans that we see in the first half have no knowledge of anything outside of their current time zone and just like are ill-equipped to deal with anything that came beforehand. And the Monoids have become reliant on their new technology, their old method of communication. It's definitely on purpose.
That does make sense. Like it's like part of their culture that they've lost. It's like a dead language for them, so they don't know, like, whatever form of communication that was, they don't have it anymore, because you see them using some form of sign language with the Guardians. Presumably they use something similar with each other. So whatever it is, they've clearly lost it. I will say though, in terms of Mr. Exposition-y plan person,
it's so funny. It happens so.
I think it does.
When the statue that is also a bomb goes off and destroys, and they'll never find where the bomb is because I put it in the statue. Did you hear that, everyone? The bomb is in the statue, and you'll never figure out where the bomb that is in the statue is.
I think, don't get me wrong,
it is the statue.
Don't get me wrong, it is very goofy, and it's something that maybe, like, certainly if you're not a Doctor Who fan and you watch this story, you think, yeah, God, that's so stupid. But I think, one, we've seen similar things before in Doctor Who. I'm not saying that as an excuse, I'm just saying that there is a precedent for it. But also, on a deeper sort of thematic level, I think it's speaking to what I think is actually a good trope that we see throughout Doctor Who, which is the arrogant, evil villain that uses their privilege and their superiority to blind themselves to the danger of the people around them. So that this evil exposition dude, he's talking about where the bomb is, but he's talking about it in front of Dodo and the Doctor, but in his mind, we're just going to kill those people soon anyway, so who fucking cares if they see our plan? There's a similar thing that happens in in the Crotons, where Jamie gets the upper hand
mean,
of
like-
the Crotons because they think,
like
he's an
Huff was
inferior
saying.
species.
Like Huff was saying about mistrustful antagonistic guy, this is not specific to Doctor Who.
No.
Like,
Sure.
fucking every villain in the world has been like, well, here is my evil plan, James Bond or superhero or guy in action movie, whatever. Anyway,
You'll never
I'm going
escape.
to leave the room now and just assume that whatever I've set up to kill you will work. And I'll be very
You'll never-
disappointed when I find out 10 minutes from now that it doesn't.
You'll never get the big red button that's over there that opens the door, because you're trapped.
I will say it was like halfway through episode 4 when I realized that the communication devices that they've got have a system where they open when they want to speak and then they close if the character's talking for a while. I noticed that and I was like, oh, that's more than you needed to do. I'm impressed. Granted, you can see that one of them at a certain point realize that it didn't open all the way and like fiddle with it so that it opens a bit more. But apart from that, I was impressed that they went the extra mile to do something like that. And it could have just been a painted circle that they put on it.
Huh.
But we do get this revolution. Stephen leads the charge from the Ark. He's clearly acclimatized to the TARDIS in the many stories that he's had on the show by this point.
Yeah.
He's sort of he's found his footing as the authority figure when the Doctor's not around, and I think he plays that role really well. I think this is the second or third story technically that we've seen with Stephen in it. It's the second that we've seen where he's a full-on companion because we watched the Time Meddler
and the Chase
the Chase where he's like he's not really a companion there.
Yeah, he shows up at the tail end.
Yeah.
To replace Ian and Barbara.
Yeah. This is the first episode I've seen with Dodo in it, to the point where I was like, who the fuck are you? I don't recognize you. Dodo? Is that your name? Or is it a nickname?
It's a nickname. Her full name is Dorothy.
Dorothea or something like that. She seemed she seemed like the kind of character that was written to be like, you know what? Miss Susan. Let's write Susan 2, and then that can be Dodo.
I don't know.
That necessarily is a bad thing, but there's definitely a very similar. Like the Doctor's really taken kind of a quasi.
I mean, like,
I don't think that's as true as you might think it is, Cuff.
The young girl companion is typically written in a certain way.
Yeah.
That's true,
but you're going to see a lot of similarities. But I think I'm pretty sure if you'd seen more, like Susan or Vicky or Dodo episodes, you would pick up on the differences.
I think
we've seen a couple of Vicky episodes. I didn't get Susan vibes from Vicky when we watched those. Let's put it that way.
Well, the thing is, I don't really get Susan vibes from Dodo that much either. I think Susan was a bit more timid, not as like overtly adventurous in her stories. I mean, Sam, you've seen season 1 more recently than us, so maybe you can correct me on that. But
I mean, technically,
but yeah, I think Dodo's a lot more outspoken. I think, and you can see that in the way that she interacts with the Doctor, especially.
And like you don't see a whole lot of it, but it seems like she's a bit more like I'm trying to think of a better word than like common, but like she uses
down to earth.
Yeah, she uses like slang a lot more, which is why you have those moments of the Doctor being like, "I'm going to teach you how
to speak English." You foul commoner.
A language that maybe I'm not even actually speaking right now. You're just hearing it.
I looked up Dodo on the TARDIS wiki, and I was mortified by something that I read, which is like her.
Oh yeah, expanded like canon shit that happens to Dodo is like fucked.
Yeah,
is it?
It's some of the most like
I'll read this one paragraph. Let me read this one paragraph. Accounts differed on Dodo's life after leaving the Doctor. Whilst one said that she lived past the 1970s, Others agree that she spent her life in psychiatric hospital before falling in love with James and being murdered.
With who? Falling in love with who?
James Stevens. I like that's the part you latched onto, and not the psychiatric
I think
hospital
it's
or
just
the
that
murder
you
of the
cut out
character.
a little bit. We only heard
Oh,
the
okay.
James part.
Sorry, just some guy.
Yeah.
Not relevant.
And then she wound up getting chilled.
She gets a bit, but in her last on-screen story, she gets hypnotized by a supercomputer, and the extended media decided to use that as
the war machines, yeah.
Yeah, and the extended media decided to use that as a... And as a result, after she left the TARDIS, she started talking about her adventure, describing big one-eyed lizards that she encountered. And as a result, she was thrown into a psychiatric institute for the rest of her life.
Jesus.
Why would you do that? There's no need.
To highlight the horrible realities of living in the middle of the 20th century.
Big Finish audios about something.
If that does exist in a Big Finish audio, I'd be morbidly curious to listen to that.
But yeah, similar to you, Cuff. When I started watching the episode, I was like, I think this is the first Dodo episode I've seen.
Yeah.
And then I got to the end and was like, oh, the next one is the Toy Maker. I have actually watched that one. I just didn't remember it. Well, I just didn't remember that it was Dodo specifically.
When you say watched it, I assume...
Yeah, like the reconstituted like audio with
pieces.
still images.
Yeah.
So, which is why I didn't remember Dodo, because like I hear a voice of a young girl from the 60s and occasionally see a picture of her. And also like all the other shit that's happening in the Celestial Toy Maker. It's just like, well, that's much more attention grabbing.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to remember, besides infecting everyone, what actions Dodo took in the story to be like involved as a companion. I know that's not always an accurate litmus test of how necessary a companion is, but I often tend to fall back on, well, what do they do? Just because there are so many classic era companions I never met before, so this is how I tend to distinguish them sometimes.
Sure. Well, to put it simply, not a lot.
Not a lot. But she does
maybe
interact
a bit of
with
commentary
the story
here and there.
Yeah, I was going to say, she does good interacting with the story.
Yeah. She's that's another thing. I think you've said before, Cuff, that the companion is a good way to for the audience to witness the events. You know, we see it from the companion's eyes, and in that way, she's kind of interesting because she's newer to the TARDIS. She doesn't quite understand how it all works, but it's useful for the audience in that sense. And her lack of seriousness is kind of interesting as well.
Yeah,
at least at the beginning.
You're probably the only one who may know this, Fitz, but how many stories has Dodo been in at this point? Do you know?
I think it's just one, and I think it doesn't exist anymore. I think it's the Massacre.
Yeah.
I was looking it up the other day, and I think...
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
I think
like,
that's
as far as we can see, this is her first episode, basically.
Essentially, yeah. Sorry, Cuff, were you going to say something there, Cuff? It sounded like
it wasn't at all related, but I needed to say it because it just popped into my head.
Yeah.
There was a weird moment in episode 1, and it was just like a line that I think the chairman says. He describes the TARDIS as a black box.
Yeah, I was going to point that out, actually. Yeah, he describes it as a black box.
Had the TARDIS been characterized as blue before this point?
Or
did they switch it to blue when they turned the show into color?
I don't know.
I feel like there was probably some kind of like promotional set thing. Like
color.
The prop would have been blue the whole time, but it's like how the living room in the Addams Family was pink.
Yeah.
Because
that's how
you had to do things for black and white TV.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Like that's how you had to take into account color. But like the audience watching the TV show, unless they had ever seen a color picture of the TARDIS in like a magazine or something, would have been like, yeah, it's black.
Well, but the thing is, though, assuming that police telephone boxes were still a thing in 1966, I assume most of them would have been blue. I don't know if there was like a uniform color for them, but so yeah, either way, God, that sounds strange in hindsight, because the blue box image, man, that gets emphasized quite a lot, especially in the revival. We just saw this with Fires of Pompeii, so it's I noticed that. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah, anyway, it stood out to me, and I spent like a minute when I was watching the episode fixated on that, being like, what, what, what is black? What? But it doesn't really matter. Does anyone have anything more to say about the arc? Because
I don't really.
I think we're kind of done.
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that among the first Doctor stories that we've seen, this is my favorite. I know that's sacrilege because we've watched The Chase, but like
I don't know. I can understand it.
Here's the thing: The Chase is more entertaining from like a pure like viewing standpoint because it is so out there. But I think thematically, I like this more, and like from a discussion standpoint, I like this more. I like the things that this episode raises. I like the concepts, both in terms of science fiction and morality that the episode talks about. I just think that the time jump is cool. I liked seeing an elephant. I'm that fickle. I'm gonna go ahead and give the story an 8.
See, I'm comparing this to The Chase as well, and for the moment, I'm going to go back to what I saw as this rather thematic inconsistency across all of the episodes. I will grant you, Cuff, it's maybe a bit more consistent than I initially gave it credit for, but I think it's still there. Now, arguably, that's even more so with The Chase, because it's so bizarre and so strange, and we're going through all these different periods. But for that reason, I don't think it's as much of a problem, because The Chase is not trying to be a super thematically serious or super thematically consistent story. It is just a strange journey through time and space. Its strength comes from experimentalism and its willingness to take just purely creative and even narrative risks. Theme gets a little bit put to the wayside, but that seems deliberate to me. So in that sense, I like The Chase more. That being said, this story is still really good, and I really like what it has to say thematically, and at the very least, this for me is like a hidden gem. I didn't know that this story was going to be that good. I hadn't seen it before. I haven't heard really anybody discuss it at length before. So yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised and impressed in what the story was doing, even if it's not perfect. I think overall, I'm gonna give it a 7. I think, yeah, a 7 for me.
I'm also giving it a 7.
Cool.
Amazing. All right. Well, next time we're going back to series 4. We're going to continue this run of apparently banger episodes, and we're going to be examining Planets of the Ood. Looking forward to this one.
Yeah, that'll be good. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but even I remember it being a really good episode.
Yeah, I agree. But until then, I'm Alex.
I'm Fitz.
I'm Sam.
And look out for those solar flares. They'll either kill your planet or make you invisible. That's been a little public
okay.
service announcement.
The bunch of trees will grow.
That's true. That's
They'll-
true. I
just
wonder why the trees didn't grow this time.
slides right off.
Hmm.
It's probably because humanity killed all the trees, so they couldn't
Hmm.
grow to make a tree shield fast enough.
That's true. Yeah. Dumb story.